Good evening, everybody. Welcome to It's All Black and White TV, and welcome to the show. It is football ruined? So that is what we are going to talk about tonight, and obviously, we are going to talk about something else as well as that. I'm joined by Pete. How are you, Pete?
Very well, Tony. You?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad at all. Very well, thank you. So, guys and girls, if you do like what you see, please make sure you do hit that like. It does really help the channel stay near the top of the search, and it means new viewers find it easily. So, if you can give it a like, it only takes a couple of seconds. Knock that thumbs up, that'd be great. Also, if you are brand new to the channel, come and join this amazing community we've got here. It is free to do so, and that bell notification that will tell you when I'm live, have a pre-record, or any upcoming shows as well. If you want to become a member, it's 99p. You can do that by clicking the join button. And if you want to make a donation, you can do that in the chat by clicking on the $sign, and all money is reinvested back in the channel as well. Right, before we get into it, let's get into some comments, because the comments are flying in here, and I gather it's going to be a hectic show and a busy show. So Martin was straight in before the show started, and he says, "Hi Tony, hope you ain't including us in the big six. We are dead against FFP." Yeah, absolutely, Martin, because we know what Man City's like. Mm-hmm. He says, "Hi, only asking." He says, "We've became public enemy number one for 24 hours. Everton and Forest got charged, and it's all about us. We voted against it to help the teams." The irony. And then he says, "I will catch up live, as I'm back live myself at 8 o'clock. So he's doing an FFP show, and it was turkeys voting for Christmas. Holly says, "Who's your favourite out of me, Dad, Amanda and Jamie Rubin for our club?" And my favourite has to be Amanda. I mean, look, Amanda was the one who got everybody together, wasn't she? You know, she done everything for us, and it's just been absolutely brilliant. But I can't say nothing against any of the ownership, PIF, the Rubin brothers, Amanda, PCP. I can't say anything against. So I think all of them have done fantastic. Bia, good evening to you. Evening, Tony and Pedro. He said yes to the 2-for-1 boxers for us. Oh, Jesus, Bia, honestly. We know who you're on about as well.
Yeah, I'm not saying
yes,
anything.
Footballers ruined, says Julie. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Julie. Yeah. She's, Master's face. I know. Yeah, I know. It's a face that you just like to punch. Actually, I shouldn't say that, should I? I'll probably get into trouble for that. Sorry, I didn't mean that. Sorry. It's just I know it's one of those faces, but Evening, everyone, says Paul. Good evening, Paul. Hope you're well. Probably get into trouble for saying that now. Troll says, "An evening, Tony. Evening to you, Trolls. I'm not trying to incite violence by one iota, by the way. So I do take that back, by the way." Ian says, "Evening, Tony and Pete." Good evening, Ian. Andrew's in the chat. Hi, Andrew. Hope you're well, mate. Sefton Mag's in the chat. Evening. Good evening, Sefton. Hope you're well, mate. Troll says, "FFP is there to protect the ugly five in City." We're going to get into it. The big six get richer, the other teams get poorer and screwed off by FFP. How is this bloody fair, says Lewis. Yeah, hi Lewis anyway. But you're absolutely bang on there, mate. Mighty Mag says, "Evening, everyone." Good evening to you, Mighty Mag. Julie says, "Hi, Tony and Pete." Hi, Julie. Mm-hmm. Lewis says, "Can't wait for tomorrow because I'm watching the under-18s play the Youth FA Cup against Bournemouth."
Yeah, they are.
Oh, well, good luck to them.
St James's Park as well.
Yeah. Brilliant. Lee says, "Evening, Tony and Pete and everyone. How are you all?" Yeah, I'm absolutely fine. Thank you, mate. Mad Mac, good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's okay. Yeah, absolutely fine, mate. Cheers. Andrew says, "Oh, not the PD. Haha." Got any come back for that, Pete?
Oh, God.
Sefton says, "Hi, Tony and Pete." Hi, Sefton, mate. Cartel 5 then, says Julie. I just don't put City in the same box as the other rabble. I don't actually, to be fair, because, look, honestly, if you look at when voting comes out, a lot of it's abstained by City, so they do try and help us out. Lee says FFP pissing me off. They're only out there to protect the bigger clubs and not bothered about the other clubs doing well in the league. I totally agree with you, Lee, on that one. Andrew says, I do. City the biggest cheats of all by look of it. It's true though, says Julie. Lewis says, remember, he tried to stop the Newcastle takeover and tried to convince them to buy Spurs instead because nobody likes Newcastle, but we all do as Newcastle fans. That was Daniel Levy. Master says a pig wouldn't lick. Says me. Connor says, morning, Tony and Peter. Australia. Hi, Connor. Hope you're well, mate. He's joined us from Facebook. Do give it a like, mate. That'd be great. Thank you. Julio Jojo, I can't translate that, mate, but yeah. Bia says, Masters in the pocket of Spurs, Liverpool. Funny how Harry Redknapp's brown envelopes and transfers aren't being investigated. Well, yeah, that's another matter, innit? With the FA Youth Cup, it's £3 for adults and £1 for kids, and you can't complain. And they kick off 7 p.m. No, absolutely not, Lewis. And do you know what? Absolutely fantastic that. And I hope they get a good turnout as well. Only kidding. Pizza class, man.
I don't even come out to say that, Andrew.
I know what you like, Andrew, yeah. Brilliant, Lewis. I know some cartels at home. It's sad. What's happening with the Premier League? Okay, so that's what he said. Right, okay, then thanks, Julie, for that. She's actually translated it for us. Mosta said to have a face for boxing are meant to be hit. If it was Spanish for those pair of armpits on my screen. Says Andrew. Right, okay, so yes, financial fair play. What is financial fair play? So, I think we all know the ins and outs of it. But anyway, financial fair play is a regulation that aims to ensure that no football team spends more than it receives. So, in function for it to regulate, monitor, and improve the economic, financial capacity of the football club. So, basically, what it is, it's a task that takes the total income of each club and subtract the costs and the debt. So, basically, it's what comes in revenue, and when you're paying out wages, transfer fees, everything else, operating costs, all that. All that's taken into account, and that's exactly what FFP is all about. Now, it says in that statement of FFP, it says financial fair play. Now then, where is the fair play? Because I don't see the fair play in this, and we're going to get into this because look, at the end of the day, we know what this is doing to clubs. And the way I look at it is I look at FFP and I think, hang on a minute. If this is supposed to be a fair policy brought in to help clubs out, I don't see it is helping clubs out. Because look, yesterday we saw Nottingham Forest and Everton for the second time being charged under the FSR rules again, the financing rules. So look, the thing is, at the end of the day, the FFP strangling clubs. Now, I don't think it's a fair policy. I think it's anti-competitive, if I'm honest. I hear Nick DeMarco is representing Forest in their case. So the Premier League's got a big thing on their hands because DeMarco's never lost a case yet. So, so they took Nick DeMarco under their wing. I mean, look, at the end of the day, when you've got a wealthy owner, you're not going to go out of business. And I can't understand why football is like this because, look, further down the leagues, we are seeing it. There are some owners out there who are rotten to the core. And I mean they are rotten to the core. Look at Reading at the weekend. Their fans protesting at their owner, getting on the pitch, abandoning the game. Them owners are a disgrace to that club. If you go down to National League, Southend United, they were in the old Division 2 at one point. We played them. At St James's on the way to Roots Hall. We beat them 3-1 at St James's. Now look, and you only go back to the 90s for that. So the thing is, you've got like, so they had a rotten owner who's actually left the club and sold it for £1 or whatever because he's riddled it with debt. Now, I understand there is owners out there who riddle clubs with debt. Man U's another one who run on debt. They bought the club for 660 million and they're still 660 million pound in debt. So work that one out. And there are other clubs out there who are in massive debt. But the thing is, at the end of the day, this FFP has to be sorted out somewhere along the line. I'm going to come to you, Pete. Give me your thoughts on this FFP malarkey.
It really needs looked into, isn't it? It's going to affect a lot of teams in terms of what they can spend, pretty much. And you also fear for some of the clubs what's the future's going to be for them. Like Everton charged a second time. What's going to happen there? Is it another points deduction? How much more money could they lose out on, particularly if they go down? Forest, it all depends, considering how many players they've brought in as well. And how much they're splashing out on wages on them as well.
Yeah.
It just, the whole thing needs looked into because it'll have a massive impact on other clubs in terms of what they can and can't do.
Absolutely, Pete. And the thing is, with FFP, it's supposed to help the clubs. That's what it's supposed to be there for. It's supposed to be a safety net so owners can't run up huge debts and then walk away from a club and leave it basically on its way out on its last legs. Now, one thing might surprise a lot of people, and good evening, Mason, by the way. What might surprise some people, what I'm going to say here is, and this is genuine, and look, I know it's not a club we like a lot of, but I actually do feel sorry for Everton Football Club, I really do. Now, you might look at me and think, wow, he feels sorry for Everton. But I'll tell you why. Because, look, yes, they've done a naughty business. They've got 10 points deducted for that. They could get a further points deduction. You don't know how many points they could get deducted. They could get deducted another 10 points. That could basically relegate Everton. They could basically go down. And through FFP. Yes, we know they've admitted to the charge, but when they're getting done twice, you've got to look at it and think, well, come on, you've done them once. Why do you need to do it again? It's you know, and so like you're doubling the punishment what they're getting. You know, it's like somebody going to court and you know, and then you say, okay, you've done wrong, and off you go for 2 years, and then 6 months later you think, oh, hang on, but they did this as well. Oh, I'm going to bring you back on the same offence, and I'm going to give you another 2 years. That's not fair, is it? So, you know, you're going to say that's not fair. And you look at Everton, yes, okay, fair enough. They might be run in the wrong way by the owners who got their Moshri, you know. Obviously, they lost Bill Kenwright earlier last year, you know, which was sad for Everton because he's been there a long time for them. But if I was an Everton fan, I'm not an Everton fan, by the way, I'm a Newcastle fan through and through, but if I was an Everton fan, putting myself in Everton's shoes, I would be angry at the Premier League over this. And I didn't blame them when they played Man U and they were showing all the corrupt signs all the way through. And you could see the cameras were trying not to be there, but every time the camera was there was a corrupt sign there, so they couldn't hide the fact. Sky tried every way to try and mask it out, but there was no way they were going to do that. If there's any Everton fans or Forest fans in this chat tonight, I would like to know your thoughts on what you think at your club, why you're being done for your FFP, because, you know, it's just an absolute farce. It really is. I mean, Pete, look, we know it's Everton. We know we have a massive rival with them.
Absolutely.
And we don't really like them. But do you feel sorry for them on a scale that they're getting done yet again? You
feel sorry for the fans mostly. That's how you kind of feel sorry for the most. It's the fans that are getting treated like absolute shite.
Hmm.
And what about other clubs who get away with lesser punishments as well? Like, what about Chelsea? Part of last year only got fined a few million for the
Yeah,
amount they spent.
absolutely, Pete. And the thing is, well, all this financial fair play business coming in now, it's ruining the game. It's ruining the game because look, as soon as our owners came into the club, and as soon as those Sports Direct signs started coming down, who was the first club out to start shouting, "Oh, we need fair market value for sponsorships"? Leicester City, who are not even in the Premier League now, they're top of the Championship at the moment, but you know they were shouting, "Oh, you can't have sponsorships. That's related to your owners and things like that." Because what they were frightened of
Yep.
was that we were going to bring sponsorships in that were going to be huge amounts of money, and they got together with everybody else and said, "Let's have a vote against it," and managed to get the clubs to convince them to all vote, apart from Man City, who didn't vote against it. And now that sort of put a spanner in it. So now you've got to go through the Premier League and you've got to produce what the sponsorship is, and the Premier League look at that and see if it's fair market value, which again I think is totally wrong. Because had that not happened, we could have brought in big money sponsors, and our FFP would have been boom. But as it is, we can't. You see, so we got to be careful what we're doing. I mean, you look at our front of shirt; it's like £25 million.
Yep. Once the
Season,
seller.
but Man City are like 40 million.
Yep.
So
See, you've got all the
you know,
sponsorship. Look how many trophies they've won.
yeah,
So that's how that's why they've got the money coming in.
yeah, absolutely. But as I say with the FFP, it's all wrong.
It is all wrong.
I'm just going to nip in some comments because Lee says if you own your own business, you should be able to spend what you want as long as you can cover your income over a few years. Very true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every team should be allowed to have an allowance of 2 million or something like that, says Lewis. Paul Gardner says it should be NFFP, not fit for purpose. Absolutely. I totally agree with you on that one, mate. Ronald's got a good point here. He says FFP is an oxymoron and the ladder is pulled up by the big six from everybody else. Bias says, how can Man U be run on leveraged debt and not be a violation of FFP? Absolutely. And that is the same with Burnley as well. They're leveraged as well. They're on a leveraged debt as well. Andrew says the Premier League and its new rules coming up will only ruin their own product, and the new rules will hinder wages of players and will not come here unless the clubs make cuts to cover their wages and fans lose. Good point there, Andrew. Very good point there, mate. But another point that I'm going to actually go on to, which actually I'm going to come on to it very soon. So, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to star your comment, Andrew, because I'm going to come back to that comment as well. Spurs has run on debt as well. Yeah, absolutely it is.
Because of the new stadium, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like the old head owner when he sold the head for £1, the heat for £1. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Gateshead, yeah. Troll says they're going to look at PSR, yeah. Profitability and sustainable rules, isn't it? Yes, I do. Tristan says, did you see Sky Sports about Newcastle buying Edison from Atlanta as Bruno here? I'll talk about that after the
I've heard something
towards the end of
about
the
that.
show. Yeah, we're going to come on to that a bit later on, Tristan. But again, yeah, I've seen a lot of rumours going around about that. Again, I'm going to start your comment, Tristan, and we'll come across that later on when we've talked about FFP and that. Andrew says the only way it'll be sort of all the other Premier League clubs starting together, challenge the FFP and the Cartel League, and I can't see it. Again, you never know, Andrew. At this rate, Everton will go down. I don't think Everton will survive, and they'll have a great stadium in the Championship. which is a shame because in a way, look, we want to see the best stadiums. You want to see teams being able to compete. And, you know, if Everton and Forest get a points deduction and they go down, the two of them, that means two teams in the bottom three will stay up.
Yeah.
Although I keep thinking Luton will stay up anyway because they look the better of the three teams in that bottom three, if I'm honest.
Mm-hmm.
Mason says, Gateshead's in good hands now. Yeah, they are. Mason, absolutely. Lee says, FFP is run by the mafia, greedy backhanders, big brown envelope boys. Yeah. Ronald says, Everton are building a new state-of-the-art ground and all. Yeah, absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
Ronald.
Yep.
Bruno ain't going anywhere this window, and I don't think he'll go into summer. I don't think so either. But again, we'll talk about that later on.
All depends on Europe, I would say.
Hi, Tony PD says coffee. Hi to you,
Coffee.
Andrew says, if any club is $1 billion in debt, how can they be allowed to spend it all? The small clubs aren't allowed because they're told it's to protect them. It's bent. In any other business, you wouldn't be able to run up the debt without securing some collateral against the asset. Do you know what? That's a very good point, Bia. Now, one thing I want to talk about is I was watching Talk Sport last week and I saw Andy Goldstein with Darren Bent to do a show on a tea time. And they were actually talking about the FFP rules and that. Now, I quite agree with what Darren Bent had to actually say because, look, you know, we know he's an ex-Sunderland player, but look, at the end of the day, he actually spoke some sense, and I actually quite liked what he had to say. And what he actually said on the matter was, look, with FFP, he says, instead of like saying, so instead of saying with FFP that you've got to like have your £105 million losses over 3 years, he says, when new owners come into the club, he says, or any owners in the Premier League, in fact, he says what it should be is, it should be the fact that they pay a debt, like a bond sort of thing. So like, for instance, a deposit. So there's FFP on the window there. But yeah, so what they would do is pay a deposit to the Premier League. We'll put that man on the screen, Richard Masters, there he is. Not a sight that everybody wants to see. But with the with that deposit, it just means if any owner struggled with payments and things like that, it means the Premier League's got that deposit to put back into the club straight away. Mm-hmm. So like, say, for instance, say in Luton Town, say their owner is a billionaire and he puts a £200 million deposit down to the Premier League. And say he's struggling to cover the costs and he has to, so instead of putting the club in administration, you'd have the club up for sale. So the Premier League would say, right, okay, we've got that 200 million. There's the 200 million straight back into the club. Pays all the players' wages, all your staff, all your running costs to keep you going until your new owner comes in. I think that's a good idea. I think that's a better way forward. And I quite agree with Darren Bent on that one.
Yeah.
And I quite like that idea if they put a deposit down. It'd be like our owner saying putting down a £1 billion deposit maybe. Yeah. Because we're going to spend big. So put $1 billion down. No disrespect, there's no way PIF's going out of business. Let's be honest.
No.
They have their fingers in too many pies around the world in every different company you can ask for. You know, you fill your car up, you go on social media, they've got their fingers in that. You know, BT, TNT Sports, everything, right? Okay, so they've got their fingers in a lot of pies.
Yeah.
I think there just needs to be a bit of common sense for this ruling as well. Also, what you've got to put it to another factor is cost of living has gone up since 2020, since COVID. Now then, as cost of living rises, surely the FFP threshold should be rising in line with inflation. Obviously, that isn't going within line of inflation. It's staying exactly where it is in a low block of 105 million over 3 years. So to me, that's anti-competitive because you're strangling clubs. And the thing is, the Premier League. The thing about the Premier League is, it's supposed to be the best league in the world, right? So we're supposed to have the best league in the world with the Premier League, and we want to attract the big players over here. We want to attract the stars. We want great clubs in there. We want to see this clubs coming up from the Championship. It's great when you get the likes of Luton coming into the Premier League. It's like a little fairy tale for them, and it's great to see it. But all these clubs know deep down that there's only a certain threshold that they can spend. And I look at this, and yes, we know that out there is some irresponsible owners out there. There is some irresponsible owners out there, let's be honest, who do take the piss out of their clubs, and they do just run massive debts and run them into the ground. We've seen it in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But there is some decent owners out there as well. And we know we've got decent owners at our football club. But the thing is, though, I mean, your thoughts, Pete. I mean, look, we're supposed to be the best league in the world.
Yep.
How can we be the best competitive league in the world if only 6 teams are allowed to compete in it?
I know. It's crazy, isn't it? Needs sorting out. Because it's all about them at the top, isn't it? Pretty much so. It really, really is. The majority of them up there.
I mean,
it just needs looked into again.
Yeah, Mark Goldbridge put a post out saying he felt sorry for Everton. I thought, yeah, and we know how much he hates Newcastle. If we broke the rules, he'd be saying, oh yeah, make sure you give them the hardest punishment you can possibly give them. Because that's what that guy is. He's an absolute numpty. But, I mean, look, something's got to be done with this. Something's got to give. Something's got to give about the Premier League, and it needs to be sorted out because at the end of the day, this FFP, it's got to go. So it's got to be sorted out one way or another. And as I've just said before, in line with inflation, this is what we should be doing in the Premier League. Yeah. But again, we're not seeing that at the moment, are we? And it's just
no.
I mean, I don't feel sorry for Everton. He got 10 points for the 3-year cycle when COVID was going on. So now it's the current PSR. It's fair enough, Tross.
Mm.
I'm probably more feeling sorry for their fans because, their fans are going to have to put through this again. And it's like, Ronald says, man, you have huge debts and F all to them. What's fair about them being all right? Absolutely. They were one of the clubs trying to block our takeover, Everton. Billy F says, when FFP first came out, the limit of loss was 105 million over 3 years. Because of the big players was around 20 or 30 million. Yep. 10 years on, players are 100 million plus, and the limit is still 105 million. You're absolutely bang on. You're absolutely bang on. I mean, that is exactly what it is. And it's, absolutely, mate. Right, where's my comments gone? I lost my comments there for a minute. Everton are just like us, passionate fan base who love the club, won't want to see their club in the Championship.
That's
absolutely, mate. To be honest, would anyone miss Everton? No, we wouldn't miss them, but Everton didn't try to increase their commercial revenue. Trevor says, what about shit United and City when they get done as Man U, 1 billion in debt? Absolutely. If you break the rules, no matter how bad they are, take your punishment, in my opinion. Yeah, I've seen some Newcastle fans say out there, do you know what? Why don't we just say, fuck it, let's go and spend and get a 6-point deduction? But I'll tell you now, we wouldn't get a 6-point deduction. I'll tell you that now.
They want to suit the Premier League, full stop.
Yeah. And we've already witnessed that because before the takeover happened, when we had that court case or that hearing, it actually come out in that hearing that the Premier League wanted to kick us out of the Premier League. So that shows you you know, how tricky Dicky is. Good old Tricky Dicky there. That's what I call him. Connor says FFP so corrupt that we are still waiting for Man City and Chelsea getting punished. Well, apparently Richard Masters said Man City's punishment's on its way, or it's going to the Independent or something. With our owners owning apart from the ownership of Disney Plus, we could all call the stadium the Disney Plus Stadium at St James's Park with an estimated value of 45 million. What would it be like for Wrexham if they were in the Prem and their money? Yeah. Has Spur TV. Hi, mate. Hope you're well. He says they have to hit Chelsea and Man City hard, relegate them 2 divisions for this scare to scare clubs from breaking FFP.
Well, Chelsea, yes, easily.
Chelsea, yeah, definitely. I mean, look, where they are spending money, it's ridiculous.
Man City's a well-run club, I would say. What Todd Bowley's trying to do with Chelsea, he's trying to buy success. Doesn't work like that.
Buying all these players that are just not good enough. If you're new to the channel, mate, smash that subscribe and smash that like as well. West Ham losing 1-0 and down to 10 men in the 51st minute.
Yeah, Ben Rama sent off.
Wow. Did that Edison play for Atlanta in the friendly we watched before last season? Did he play in that game, Peter? Can you remember?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I can't remember how the lineups were in the game, to be honest.
Yeah.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Hasper TV says, I think Dyche will find a way to keep Everton up.
Not if they get another points deduction. I think it'll be a real struggle for them.
I don't want Everton to stay up just because it's FFP. No way in hell, says Trolls. And did you know, Pete, the other day that Unai Emery had his first ever 0-0 draw in the Premier League? 97 games in the Premier League, and that was his first ever 0-0 draw.
Bloody hell. I didn't know
that. Hasper says there needs to be a worldwide salary cap in order to control the money in football. Do you know what? I agree with that in a way. Yes, I do agree with that. It is becoming mega bucks, you know. They do it in, obviously, the NFL, don't they? Not that I watch the NFL, but I've heard they do that in that. But, yeah, there's going to have to be something's going to have to give. Bias says Spurs and Liverpool are the biggest politicians in the league. They manipulate everything. Yeah, absolutely, especially Daniel Levy.
Yep.
That man's an absolute prat. I can't stand him.
No, neither can I.
And sorry, Hasper, I know you're on the chat, but you might even agree. To be honest with you, I mean, it's Daniel Levy who doesn't even own Spurs. It's Joe Lewis. Andrew says they have to punish Everton and Forest because if they don't, then they are scared. We'll go out and buy everybody. Yeah. Masters up. Never have Masters up there more than 2 seconds at a time. Tristan says, Tony, the next year there will be an adjudicated in the Premier League government. They have made it law, so now it may get worse. Okay. With this picture, just made me punch my phone.
Oh, dear.
Oh, dear. Lewis says, I'm not saying I think Man City have been giving the Premier League some money not to find them doing sneaky business.
No,
I would. They spent a lot of their money before this came in.
Yeah, the fact is they've had ways of generating money into the club. Look how many trophies they've won.
It's nice.
Oh, Jesus.
Remember American Pie? Oh, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Oh, God.
You ever seen them films, Pete?
Yeah, I think I've seen
American Pie, yeah, they're funny. Especially the apple pie scene. Anyway, let's move on. Goatfather says, Evening, Tony and Pete in chat. I say spend $1 billion on transfers and challenge the Premier League and court for any FFP charges.
Oh, I don't think.
Do you know what it is? I reckon, Pete. I'll tell you now, Pete. If there was no FFP, can you imagine the team we would have now? Not being funny.
Yeah, absolutely, exactly. Yes, totally, yes.
Would be a totally different team.
Indeed.
Shape Mansour, one of the wealthiest men in the world, and since 2008 has spent over $1 billion on player purchases and infrastructure at the club, all before FFP. Absolutely, Sefton, well said.
Oh, yeah.
Tony, every team signed up to those rules in the Prem have control in 2008. We all signed up to FFP, and it's the rules. You can't sue them. I'm sure it can be challenged. And remember, it wasn't our owners who signed up to it. It was the fat cockney who signed up to it.
Ashley.
Yeah. Everton Championship team. Predator says they should have auditors going into every club at the end of each season, go over the accounts, make sure some of these owners don't run the clubs in the ground. That would stop all that. Absolutely, Predator. I totally agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And who do we put it down to? Why are we under FFP as well? Our previous owner.
Yeah. Because he thought it was clever to pay the fees off in one go rather than paying it in installments.
Yeah. And what he didn't do and what he could have done. All the money he could have reinvested from the TV and all of that. Into his back pocket. Looking at poor sponsors, Wonga being one of them.
Yeah.
And I think when we went down, I know our accounts were in the minus the second time we got relegated during his era.
Yeah.
And that's why we find ourselves in these restrictions because of him as well. How much he ran this club into the ground for 14 years.
Yeah, absolutely, Peter. I totally agree with you on that one. Because he didn't pay for any advertising in that ground whatsoever.
Nope, definitely did not at all. No, not paid for the Sports Direct advertising at all.
Yeah, he got away with that one, didn't he? Andrew said, I hope Everton go down to the 97th division. Masters could not specify the exact date. I'd rather have the Aston Martin Stadium, big class. FFP should be put on a freezer on when COVID was about, when the grounds was empty and no fans were allowed in, no income going to clubs. But apparently that was taken into consideration. Another thing with the FFP I was quite interested was, and I don't know if you heard Simon Jordan saying this, Pete, as well, but what he did say a couple of weeks ago was, he says, I think when new owners go into a football club, irrespective, whichever club it is, he says, I think they should be given a brand new 3-year grace period. Yeah, so everything's wiped clean and they can start from scratch. Yep. And do you know what? I was actually, that you've actually talked some sense for once, Simon, because normally you talk a lot of nonsense, but he actually talked some sense when he said that. 27th of January, 7 p.m. kickoff. Stupid kickoff time. Well, that is
again, that's another reason why football's ruined in a way as well.
Joe Lewis is up on corruption charges for insider trading. Yes, he is. Very serious charges. You never hear anything about it. If it was our owners, it would be news every day. Like the stupid news story going around today, which I'm not going to really repeat and I'm not going to get into it. I think it's all a load of nonsense. Dragged up by a journalist. Andrew says a Geordie version of American Pie was smashed to pasty. Daniel Levy is a wang spangle, but what happened with that Spurs owner being indicted in the US for dodgy business dealings? That's when quiet it has, hasn't it? Bias says Man U didn't make a £690 million profit. That's revenue before costs. Brett says I know clubs submit their own accounts every so often, but sending auditors in at the end of each season would stop owners fudging numbers. Yeah, absolutely. Simon Jordan, sense for once, yeah. Ashley was going around buying companies cheap through COVID and then laughed at us getting these signings. Yes, he did. He bought all these companies like Flannels, Game and all that, didn't he? And look, I don't know if anybody's seen any football matches from like the Coventry Stadium, but if you look at the Coventry Stadium, he's got his advertising up in there now as well. Fraser's Plus.
Oh,
Yeah. So if you next time you see a game with Coventry, just have a look at the advertising, and you'll see it. It has Fraser's Plus up everywhere. And I bet he's not paying for that because he owns a stadium.
probably isn't.
BS says you have to be careful with grace periods as owners just close their business and open a new one. True. Right. Okay. So So anyway, I'm going to go back to one of these stored comments, and that was from Andrew. So Andrew said the Premier League and the rules coming up will only ruin their product. The new rules will hinder wages, and players will not come here unless the club makes cuts to cover the wages, and the fans lose. Right, you're absolutely bang on there, Andrew. And this was the next point I'm going to make now. Now, what I'm going to say next might prove controversial for a lot of people. And I know it's all controversial to all us fans in a way. But what I'm going to come up with might make a bit more sense. Okay? So, it involves this. Yes. So we know the European Super League can make a return because it's not against the law. Now then, there will be no FFP in this European Super League. Now, if Newcastle were asked to join the Super League, I would say yes. Do you know why? And I'll tell you why I'll say yes. And it's not because I want us to leave the Premier League, because I want us to be in the Premier League. But I look at the Premier League, the FFP, how strangled we are. We can't make massive signings. We can't bring players into the club. You know, I mean, look, we can't even go and get Calvin Phillips because, you know, what Man City want for the loan and paying wages and things like that. It's strangling us because of, not because of our new owners. The new owners aren't skint, by the way. They've got money to burn. It's just the fact is, it's the previous owner, the 14 years of damage he's caused to our beloved club. And that is what's happened to our club because 14 years of mismanagement under the fat controller. Now, if we were to go in the Super League, and they're going to have 3 divisions, I understand, bronze, silver and gold. Now then, if it meant we can go in that Super League and we can bring the best players to St James's Park, yes, it would be a massive shame if we weren't doing it in the Premier League. You know, and I know the Super League's going to be massive for things like that. But surely, but the point I'm making about this anyway, it's not the fact of joining the Super League, because I don't really, in some ways, I don't want us to join the Super League. I'm just saying it as in like FFP wise. But if that's the case and teams do join the Super League, what's the Premier League going to do? What's Richard Masters going to do? What's Tricky Dicky going to do? You know, he's going to be panicking.
Tricky Dicky.
You like that one, Pete, don't you?
Trick. Where's it started from?
I'll tell you what, though. Tricky Dicky will be, his arse will be doing that, because what he'll be saying is, oh, look at all these teams. We've lost the big teams now to the Super League, because they can spend what they want.
Yeah.
Because we've got restrictions in place, and it's going to be at the Premier League. But then it's not only the fact that teams are going to pull out the Premier League and join the Super League. It's the fact is, then how much commercial revenue is the Premier League going to lose? Are they going to lose Sky Sports? Are they going to say, well, go and cover the Super League? Is TNT Sports going to pull out? Will Budweiser pull out? All these big corporate sponsors they've got sponsoring the Premier League. All of a sudden, the Premier League could be like, boom, dwindle down to nothing. And this is what I'm saying. I think the Premier League are going to have to start looking at things, because if not, considering we are supposed to have the best league in the world, it's going to fall way behind if the Super League takes off well and truly. And I don't want us to join the Super League, by the way, in any way, shape.
Oh, no, definitely not.
But I'm only saying that on a scale where the FFP wouldn't be there, where it is in the Premier League. And that's what I'm trying to say. The Premier League will lag well behind, and that is the problem.
Yeah.
But Pete likes a tricky dicky, don't you?
I've dread the comments coming in now. Where did it start off with? Mr. Teeth.
Mr. Teeth,
yeah. I forgot the other ones as well.
Ethan Pillock.
Yes. Oh, God.
Andrew says, but if clubs leave for the Super League and if we stayed in the Prem and won it, it would not have the same prestige. No, it wouldn't, Andrew. And that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. But because with the Super League, there's going to be no FFP. This is what I'm saying. The Premier League is going to go way down.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like lagging way behind. So the Premier League and Tricky Dicky needs to sort something out rather quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Because when the Super League does get up and running, there's no way you can stop it.
No.
Billy says, I get the feeling the FA are doing all they can to destroy the Premier League. Ridiculous rule changes, far embarrassing, and FFP's a piss take. Yeah, I totally get it, Billy. And, you know, the VAR as well. I mean, look, that is just ridiculous. Look how long it took them to sort that goal out on Saturday when Longstaff scored. And they were looking at Longstaff's goal and I'm thinking, but it's not him as offside, it's Isak, you know? And, you know, some people, you know, we know Pep Guardiola's blaming the linesman for Edison getting an injury because he said he should have had his flag up straight away. But the linesman's told not to put his flag up until if it goes in the back of the net, so in case it's not offside. So there's an argument to two sides of that, but I don't blame the linesman for that at all.
No.
Ronald says that didn't want us in the Super League destroying their favourite teams. They supported glory hunting as a kid.
It's the fans you would feel for the most.
Andrew says Dick Master. Tricky Dicky, says Lee. Andrew says, word of the day was Wank Spangle. Who said that earlier? I think that was Ronald, wasn't it? Julie says, cockwomble is another good word. Also describes Masters, Levy and Klopp and their ilk.
No.
Ronald says, Budweiser like that cock in a frock. Dylan Mulvaney or something. English Premier League is headed some way as Italian League in the 90s. It's killing itself with corruption. Do you know what? I can't disagree with Andrew. I can't disagree with it. And the thing is, this is what I'm saying. I know there's going to be some sort of changes or something next month to this ruling, the FFP. I mean, look, you've got to feel sorry for Forest as well in some ways because, look, 3 weeks after they'd done their accounts, Brennan Johnson left. Now, if Brennan Johnson had have left 3 weeks prior, Forest would have been fine. And this is strange, isn't it? Because he goes 3 weeks later, and all of a sudden it doesn't matter because it's from it's classed as a previous year, and it's all wrong, really. But they reckon where they've gone over their FFP. Or they broke the rules was because when they bought Chris Wood and John Joe Shelby off us.
Yeah.
Because they didn't take notice of the clause when if you have Wood in the squad 3 times, you've got to buy him.
Yeah.
And he's on $100,000 a week there or something. So, yeah. Andrew says, I used to love the Wombles, but I can't remember a cock one, remember? Toby Mori. Oh, yeah, there was Toby Mori. Oh, God, I can't remember who the Wombles were. The Wombles of Wimbledon, we know that. We had one of them at Newcastle United called Dennis Wise.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, well, he was... Well, actually, I think he's going back to Panto, and he's going to be one of the 7 dwarfs. An independent regulator will hurt the Premier League. Only competition drives improvement. Absolutely. I used Cockwomble and Wank Spangle on X report that law. Uncle Bulgaria and Madam Chalet. Yeah, absolutely, Andrew. Yeah, now you've said it, yeah. Exactly, Uncle Bulgaria. But, yeah, that's it. But, I mean, look, FFP, they've got to change it. They've got to start doing something to it, and something's got to give eventually. But I get what Tristan said earlier. They can't challenge it, but I don't think they can. I think they can challenge it. And if you look at it, and if you do challenge it, all it takes is a certain amount of clubs to get together. Even if 15 clubs got together, including Man City, and said, look, we're going to back against this FFP. There is nothing Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea, Arsenal, or Tottenham can do about it whatsoever. So there's nothing they can do about it whatsoever. So we need to see what happens with that as well. The FFP. Orinoco as well. Oh God, yeah. Nookie Bear was taller. Morph supports plaster scene. Both like fist of the Bia says Richard Mercer should take up his new job as CEO of the post office. Oh. Well, it's weird, isn't it? Because wasn't there a guy at the post office at the time who was a chief executive in the FA called Adam Crozier?
Oh, fuck's sake, Bia.
I always prefer Gordon the Gopher, but he changed that to being locked up in the broom cupboard with Phillips Cove. I've just got... Yeah. He always had his hand up his arse. But, yeah, absolutely. But FFP has got to change for the better. Let's hope it does eventually. Let's hope something happens. Because, look, it is ruining the game. And, look, not only that, I mean, look how far down the table we are. I mean, we have got an injury-ravaged squad.
Yep.
And we're not taking, and I'm not saying injuries are an excuse, by the way. It looks like we've lost Joe Linton for the season, which is going to be a massive loss as well. But look, you know, this FFP needs to be sorted out because it isn't right. And they're certainly not going in line with inflation either. And the sooner it's sorted, the better. What's your conclusive thoughts on FFP then, Pete?
It needs re-looked into. It really, really needs looked into because it's affecting a lot of clubs, as I mentioned. And it's not going to get them anywhere.
No.
In terms of spend.
Do you agree, Pete, that it should... Yeah, do you agree, Pete, that should be... that it should be, the threshold should go up in line with inflation?
Absolutely, it should do.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, it should do.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Right, let's get into some Newcastle United news, by the way. Okay, so I came home tonight and I was just looking on Twitter and that, and I thought, what's going on here? There's all this coming up on Twitter about some player. Apparently, it's been said on Sky that we are looking at this guy. That is Edison from Atalanta in Italy. So Edison is a 24-year-old Brazilian. He can play as a DM or a centre midfielder. Long balls are his strengths. He's got no outstanding weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
He started 19 out of 20 games this season, being Team of the Week twice in Serie A. He scored 5 goals and got 1 assist from midfield. 3 goals over his right foot. His accurate crossing's 44%, so that's a massive improvement to what we got, from that right side. Accurate passing per game is 84%, 87% in his own half and 80% in the opposition half. Long balls are 54%. If I look at his defending, interceptions per game is 1.4. Tackles, 2.5 tackles per game. Balls recovery is very good, 5.6 per game.
Mm-hmm.
He's had 1 error that's led to a shot, but none that's led to a goal, and hasn't committed any penalties either this season. So he seems pretty good that way. 76% of successful dribbles he has. He wins 59% of total duels. He wins 59% of ground duels and 61% of aerial duels as well. Atlanta bought him for €21 million from Salernitana. And he's had 3 yellow cards all season, no reds and no second yellows. That's led to a red card either. So he seems to be a decent enough player. Sounds like he'd be the type of player that would fit well into our midfield. He sounds like a bit of a Joe Linton, if I'm honest. He is very much box to box as well. And I'm just going to look at his stats again on FB Ref just to see if they've got the same sort of thing. And obviously see what he's on per week as well, if it shows his weekly wage. So it says he's currently on €49,000 per week at Atlanta. So again, wages wouldn't be an issue in buying him in. I mean, it's these progressive carries which is excellent. Successful take-ons as well, 85%. Now, who is he matched with? And that is the thing. Who is he actually matched with? What company does he keep? So I'm just going to try and find that when I get down there. And it's not letting me do it at the minute. But yeah, I mean, look, he looks to be a very good player, very decent. Ball retention's pretty good. Now, players he's compared to. So players he's compared to is Nicholas Dominguez, who plays at Forest. Amadou Haidara, who plays for Leipzig, a very good centre midfielder. He's also likened to Conor Gallagher. Youssef Fofana, who plays for Monaco. So there's some players he's similar to in that respect. Another player, a Swedish player called Jens Kajust as well, who plays for Napoli. So, he's in some good company there, I suppose. But, I mean, Pete, your thoughts about Edison?
Sounds like a decent player.
But it's a fee, isn't it?
Yeah, can we get around the FFP?
They're saying he's worth about 40 million.
It's not bad. It's not too bad. I suppose that can be a bargain in today's market. But again, can we get around the FFP after what's been coming out by the likes of Eddie, Darren Eales and all that?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Jesus, Billy F. Bias says a January wind and nothing has happened yet as nobody can spend any money. Hurts grassroots football as no money is kicked down. Absolutely. Ron Sanaman, Mag and Linux are saying Israel should be banned from international football. What a F-tard. Yeah, you can't ban Israel for that.
No.
Lee says scrap FFP and the window transfers and go back to like it used to be, buying players anytime throughout the season. Then you can get players probably value won't be so much to buy. That's a good point, Lee. That is
absolutely, yeah.
Like the old way when we used to be able to buy players at any time during the season. You would wait until January or the summer. But again, I quite like the sound of him. And I just wonder, is the Calvin Phillips a smokescreen? Are we really in for Calvin Phillips? Because we've seen this in the past, where we've been linked to this player. I'm not saying Calvin Phillips, but like Szoboszlai, for instance, and it never came off. And we bought Tonali, and Tonali came through the door. Is this a case with Edison? Is this the fact is we're wanting to bring him in rather than bringing Calvin Phillips in? Well, he would be a cheaper option than Calvin Phillips as well. And he's younger. And I've heard Calvin Phillips is quite injury prone as well. So, it's Ronald says Simon Jordan says we can spend. Interesting. Lee says, let's go for Garassi and get a few players from Saudi. Garassi, yeah, I mean, he's injured at the moment. He didn't play yesterday for Guinea because he was injured. But, yeah, I totally agree with you, Lee. Benzema wants to go somewhere on loan. I would take Benzema at the end of the season. I know he's 35, but you know what? He's one of them you can just throw on and say, go and grab me a goal, Karim, and he'll get you a goal. I think Piffer holding the summer window, new sponsor deals kicking.
Maybe.
It could well be Andrew. Could well be Andrew. That's the thing. You just never know, Andrew. You never know with that. I don't know if has anybody seen any pictures going around today of Joe Linton and Bruno in Newcastle shirts?
I've seen Ian Isak in one of them as well.
Yeah, and Anthony Gordon as well.
Yes.
There's rumours going around that the shirts that Joe Linton and Bruno in, they're going to be next season's shirts.
Really?
They're going to retro it and bring it back. Obviously not with the brown ale logo on, it'll be Salah, but yeah. Would you have them 2 shirts back, Pete?
Oh, yeah.
Or the blue could even be the 3rd kit, couldn't it? Because
it could
that
be.
one with Isak with the Dennis Menace kit, as we used to call it.
Mm-hmm.
The maroon and blue one, that's nice.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it?
Oh, it is.
Reminds you of David Ginola against Sheffield Wednesday when he scored that cracker.
Yes.
We can learn from Saudi what Shola doing. Yeah. He's probably still crowning Isak the Mackham Slayer Mark II. But yeah, let's hope we do. I mean, look, Fabrizio Romano put a thing out yesterday saying Bruno's in Paris, because he's obviously we're on a winter break, but he's not in talks with Paris. And I thought, well, not being funny, why have you even put it out there for Fabrizio? No need to put out there, really, is there? You know, he's there with his family having fun. That's all he's doing.
Yeah, it's a winter break, so some players are allowed to have a bit of time off.
Now, I know we're on about FFP and people keep saying, oh, we've got to sell one of these big stars. Now, honestly, and I don't mean this nasty to the lad, I think the lad's been all right, but of late he hasn't played too well, to be honest with you. And that's this guy, Sean Longstaff. Now, in the summer, I think if you get an offer for him, I think you sell him.
Yeah,
because
I do as well.
It reduces your FFP.
It does.
Would you sell him, Pete?
If we got a good price, yes.
I think you'd probably get about 25 million from him.
Maybe.
Because he'll only have a year left on his deal, remember, so...
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely without a doubt. Now there's talk that Arsenal are sniffing around Isak. No chance, I'm sorry.
And yet they're quoting how much we paid for them. You can do... And what makes you say we don't want to do business with Arsenal after they whinged about when we beat them back in November?
Absolutely.
The way they got Arteta and some of their fans got so salty about it.
Yeah. Isak's worth a lot more than 60-odd million now. He's worth over 100 million.
Yeah, I would say double what we paid for him.
Without a doubt he is. He's worth a hell of a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So they can go and do one. This guy is having a fantastic time at the minute at Southampton. No, I do not want him back at Newcastle United, by the way. But please, Southampton, I know Russell Martin wants to buy him in this window. Please buy him. Please.
Take him.
Give us 5 million and you can have him.
Quote us any price and you can have it. Because we paid nothing for him.
Right, one debate going around at the moment. I'm going to ask, I want your opinions on this, Pete, because now I sort of said, I was sort of like on the fence at the time thinking, oh, I'm not so sure, right? Mm-hmm. of like, do we or don't we? And I'm just going to ask you for your opinion. I'll get his
First
picture
things
on
first, I just want to
screen.
say, Tony, Bristol City have knocked West Ham out the FA Cup.
Have they really?
They have, yes.
Wow, that's unbelievable. That can't believe that they've knocked Bristol City out.
They've knocked West Ham. I
Wow,
looked at that West
sorry,
Ham
Bristol
team.
City.
I've looked at that West Ham team as well, and this is who they had out playing tonight. It looked a bit of a strange one, particularly for a second round of an FA Cup. Their lineup was Fabianski, Mavropanos, Zuma, Creswell as a back three. They had Kufal as wing back, Ward-Prowse, Suchek, Emerson as left wing back, Corney, Benrahma, Danny Ings up front. There was no, in the normal lineup, there was no Bowen, no Paquetá, no, well, I know Kudus is at the Cup of Nations, but no Alvarez either.
Jesus. That's unbelievable, that.
Yep.
Right. So, the player in question I'm going to pop on the screen now, and I want your opinions on this player, Pete. There he is. There's Isaac Hayden. He's just been recalled back from a loan spell in Belgium where they weren't too happy with him, to be fair. Mm-hmm. We're short on players, Pete. He's a defensive midfielder. Yeah. Do you think it's just till the end of the season? Keep on the bench.
If we don't get
it's a bit of strength. He's never let us down, Pete.
No, it hasn't in a way. It's a tough one, this one. Maybe because if we don't get anyone in, then yes. If we maybe do get someone in, no.
Yeah, I mean, he's never let us down as a club, really. I mean, he was there for,
no.
You know, we paid $1.5 million for him from Arsenal. Remember his last minute goal against Chelsea, the header.
Yeah.
He has been great for us. I just don't know why Eddie never ever gave him a chance. I don't know why Eddie never gave him a chance. He never seemed to want to look at him. But as I see, he was always 100%er on the pitch.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, considering how many people got out injured, I would say yes, give him a chance till the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what people in the chat think, but you know, it's he doesn't have to start every game, but at least he's there. And if you want to push on a defensive midfielder to help shore up, then you can just see it Isaac Hayden jump on there and help shore the defense up for the last 20 minutes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, there's going to be players going in the summer. You know, we've got players out with contract in the summer, like Lascelles, Target. Sorry, not Target. Manquillo.
Done it, yes.
Would you sell Matt Target in the summer?
I probably would now, actually.
Yeah. It's looking like a move that we shouldn't have done, isn't it, really?
See, he did well on his loan spell, didn't he? But it just, when Burns started playing there, Matt Target just couldn't get back on the side. And if we're apparently going to get Lewis Hall on a permanent deal, I think that puts Target down the pecking order.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, says the shirt Joe Linton was wearing was horrible. As I had it as a kid, the green and orange stripe. Prefer the blue. It weren't too bad. Lee says, how would you put in place of Bruno if he gets too much ban? Hope that's not. Probably put Tino there. Lewis Hall, because he can play midfield.
You can do.
But then you're going to have two youngsters in midfield. Be meant if they did a shirt based on how the fans decorated the Black Cats bar, lol, shithousery. Yeah. Billy F says Amanda was saying Bruno was going to be the face of Adidas next season. Wow. Yeah. Isak models himself on John Sinclair. If they paid over 100 for Rice, Isak is worth double, says Godfather. It's like being back in the 80s with them Southern Press trying to sell war assets like the McKeegan charge. I'll tell you what, though, I know you're saying something about John and Isak. I'll tell you what, John wouldn't mind Isak's wages, though. I bet you wouldn't mind them. Bet you wouldn't mind being a pound behind them, John, would you? Just Pete, I'm watching the snooker, says Ronald. O'Sullivan did well that comeback against Ali Carter the other night. Southampton can keep the poison to Fraser. Bias says you can't put Hayden in the squad. It would block somebody return from injury. Stick Livermento's day. Would you not drop Matt Ritchie out the squad?
Maybe it's a
or dumb it.
Yeah, possibly would.
Or if Matt Target to pen out Gronk, he's going to be out for. Keep him out the squad. I'm wanting to keep Lascelles myself, like says Ronald. Yeah, but if we want to go to the next level, Lascelles isn't the next level player, is he?
No.
West Ham out the cup. Lascelles would be good as a squad player right now. Ali Carter moaned afterwards, though, some serious beef between him and Ronnie. There is absolutely. He was so slow, wasn't he? Yeah, because Ronnie O'Sullivan's given him a rant as well, hasn't he? So
yeah, it has.
And given the middle finger and said, "That's for you, Ali." So something's going on there. But yeah. Right, so we're coming to the end of this show. He's looking like he's winning O'Sullivan. He's playing now. Nice one. So we'll come to the end of the show anyway. It's been a great show. Talking about the FFP and a little bit of Newcastle United news at the end of that as well. Pete, what have you got coming up anytime soon?
I've decided I'm going to be, me and Mason are doing a show tomorrow, and you're welcome to join on this one if you want, Tony. It was kind of one of the comments kind of given away in the chat. We are going to do a show on the worst NUFC kits. So myself, Mason, and if you want to join Tony, pick 5 of the worst kits that Newcastle have had. You don't have to have had them yourself, and just give the reasons why this was chosen as one of the worst. That's been the worst kits we've had. So that'll be tomorrow night.
Yep, I will do. Yep, there you go.
And Friday, PD's Football Live show.
Hey, that's back on Friday. Are you going to go down to Fulham, Peter, or are you not bothering?
I'm still thinking about it if I can. Hopefully.
It depends how...
Job a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a stupid time, and they just don't think about the fans, do they?
Nope.
And it's even on ITV4, so it's not like they're putting it on the mainstream channel, are they? Fantastic show, Tony and Pete. Spot on, getting better all the time. Cheers, Lee. Thanks, mate. I vote for Mason Snuddy, says Beer. Julie says Archer's onesie.
Oh, God.
So like I say, I'll be on Pete's channel tomorrow night, so you'll see me on there tomorrow. Not sure what else I've got coming up in a minute. I'm depending on what's going on, may do something like a transfer show or something on Thursday, so do keep an eye out for that one. Julie says not easy to get to Fulham either, long way on the tube. Yeah, and then you've got about a 10-minute walk or something, haven't you, to the stadium? Can you show, like, says Andrew. Mason laughing as well. Well, make sure you got your worst shirts, Mason. Archer the Tigger hoodie. Great show, Tony and Pete, says Ian. Cheers, mate. Good show, Tony and Pete. Cheers, Julie. Thank you very much. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it. I hope we've you know, we've had a little bit of debate about the FFP situation. Let's hope something gets sorted out with that, because it's just absolutely horrendous, and it's stopping us. It's anti-competitive. At the end of the day, I think it's anti-competitive, and if it's anti-competitive,
Certainly does.
it should be illegal. So
Yep,
that's
totally.
That's the way I look at it.
Yep.
Seen Archer at the gym today, says Mason.
Oh, well then.
Billy F says, take care, everyone. Yes, you too, mate, as well.
Okay, Billy.
Good night, everyone. Take care. You too, Julie. But remember, the future's bright. The future is black and white, and it's bye-bye from me.
Yeah, mate.
We're the lads.